You've been deceived, not by accident, but by design. For decades, you've been fed a story about women, what they want, what moves them, what makes them say yes when every fiber of your being is begging them not to say no. You've been told it's about looks, about wealth, about love. But none of that holds up under scrutiny, because what actually drives women to sleep with men isn't romantic. It's strategic, it's biological, and most dangerously, it's subconscious. Even she doesn't fully understand it. Here's the brutal truth. Women don't sleep with the most attractive man. They sleep with the man who triggers 4 ancient switches buried deep in her psyche. Miss one, and you're invisible. Nail all 4, and you become the man her body and mind chase without reason. You were never meant to know this. Movies, media, even your friends told you it's all about chemistry, charm, and confidence. And if that worked, we wouldn't have an epidemic of sexless relationships, confused men, and women who are physically present but emotionally absent. So here it is, the truth that makes men dangerous and women undeniably drawn. The first hidden switch is the foundation of everything: emotional safety. Not niceness, not politeness, but the deep feeling that when she lets you in, you won't use it against her. Let me tell you a story. There was a guy, tall, cut from marble, with a body that belonged on magazine covers. Everyone thought he had it all. And yet, women left him. One after another, not because they didn't want him, but because they couldn't trust him. His anger was unpredictable. His silence lasted days. His charm faded the moment pressure hit. He didn't fail for lack of appeal. He failed because he didn't create emotional safety. Then there was another man. Average build, ordinary job. Nothing flashy. But women opened up around him. They told him things they hadn't told anyone. They chose him over the better men. Why? Because he made them feel safe. And safety to a woman is the first gate to intimacy. You think attraction is about being impressive? It's not. It's about being predictable when life becomes unpredictable. Women aren't looking for thrills. They're looking for stability in the middle of chaos. And if you can't give her that, she'll take her body elsewhere, no matter how much you excite her. Understand this. To a woman, sex isn't just a physical act. It's vulnerability, it's reputation, it's risk. Her biology is screaming one thing: only open your body to the man who makes you feel like you won't be judged, shamed, or left behind. So if your presence feels like danger, your body will never touch hers. And here's where most men implode. They confuse being nice with being safe. You can buy flowers, recite poetry, and still be dangerous if your emotions are unstable, your opinions are cutting, or your energy screams insecurity. Emotional safety isn't about gifts. It's about being unshakable. Women aren't watching how generous you are. They're watching how you respond when they're raw, scared, or angry. If you flinch, criticize, mock, or explode, you're done. Attraction shuts off like a light. So what builds emotional safety? Congruence, control, respect. A man who listens without trying to fix her, who absorbs without reacting, who doesn't match her chaos, but centers her with calm. And that brings us to the second hidden law: consistency. This one destroys more relationships than cheating ever could. Because inconsistency doesn't just break trust, it murders desire. Men love to promise. They say the right words on the first date, write the perfect texts, make the bold declarations. But here's what women have learned the hard way. Words are worthless without patterns. She doesn't care what you say once. She cares if you live it every day. You said you were ambitious. She believed you until she watched you spend every night scrolling through your phone, complaining about your job, blaming the world. Your words said drive. Your actions screamed stagnation. You told her she was the only one. Then she watched you flirt with every waitress in the room. You said loyalty. Your behavior exposed weakness. She doesn't need to catch you cheating to feel betrayed. All she needs is to see that your values bend when no one's watching. Consistency is attraction insurance. It's how you stay desired. Not just on day 1, but day 1,000. The man who wins isn't the one who says the most. It's the one whose presence is reliable, whose mood is steady, whose word is contract. And here's the paradox. A woman's attraction is fluid. It evolves. At 19, she wants the rebel. At 29, the protector. At 39, the man who brings peace. If you don't evolve with her, she'll evolve without you. Men think they've won because they got the girl. But attraction isn't a trophy. It's rent. And rent is due every single day. Miss a payment and the relationship gets evicted. So ask yourself, when she watches you, does she see stability? Or does she see a contradiction wrapped in charm? And this leads us to the third law, the one that's tested silently, daily, relentlessly. Composure. Every woman has tested your composure, whether you noticed or not. They push, they provoke, not out of malice, but necessity. Because deep in her coding, she needs to know. Can you stay calm when the storm hits? You thought the argument was about the dishes. It wasn't. It was about your ability to lead through tension. You thought she was being dramatic. She wasn't. She was pulling the fire alarm on your emotional maturity. A man who yells, pouts, storms out. He thinks he's showing strength. She sees a child. Every time you lose control, she loses respect. And once respect dies, desire dies right after. The irony? You could have 6-pack abs and a 7-figure bank account. But if you can't remain grounded under pressure, she won't trust you with her body, let alone her heart. Because to her, strength isn't noise, it's presence. It's the man who listens without interrupting, who holds his tone, who doesn't threaten, doesn't flinch, doesn't flee. When she raises her voice and you stay still, something ancient in her wakes up. She sees reliability. She sees control. She sees the man who doesn't get shaken by drama, but absorbs it and neutralizes it. That man keeps her attraction. That man wins silently. Because composure isn't optional. It's primal. Women didn't survive by choosing the loudest man. They survived by choosing the calmest man when the wolves came close. And in today's world, the wolves look different. They're bills, deadlines, insecurities, doubts. But her psychology is still watching for the same thing. Can this man protect me without panicking? If the answer is yes, she opens. If the answer is no, she withdraws. And this is where most men collapse without even realizing it. They think attraction is won through a moment, one perfect date, one compliment, one show of dominance. But she's not watching your best moments, she's watching your worst. Because how you act when everything is falling apart tells her who you truly are. Your composure is your character exposed. And she feels it instinctively. The man who can't handle chaos is the man who can't handle her truth, her fears, or her vulnerability. And no woman will ever surrender her body to a man who cannot hold her when she's unraveling. But this leads us to the final driver, the most difficult, the one most men fail, the one women deny even exists because it's the one that decides everything. Boundaries. Most men crumble here because they mistake persistence for power. They were taught to chase, to pursue, to break down walls. Movies told you that if you just prove yourself enough, she'll say yes. That if you keep showing up, you'll win her over. But here's the truth. The more you push, the less she wants you. The more you chase, the more she pulls away. Not because she wants to be difficult, but because you're communicating one fatal message. You need her more than she needs you. and desire cannot live in desperation. Let me be clear. A woman does not open herself to the man who pressures her. She opens to the man who respects her space so deeply that she chooses to cross the line on her own. That's the man who unlocks her deepest desire, not by force, but by presence. Not by pushing, but by holding the door open without begging her to walk through it. Think about it. When she says no, how do you respond? Do you argue, negotiate, sulk, or withdraw? Or do you simply smile, nod, and continue being grounded, unmoved by the outcome? That moment tells her everything. If you respect her no without punishing her, you prove that your power isn't tied to her approval. And paradoxically, that's what makes her trust you. That's what makes her want you. Because a woman's deepest fear is being controlled, but her deepest longing is being safe enough to surrender. And surrender only happens when she feels she can trust you not to misuse it. You've seen it before. The man who plays it cool, who doesn't pressure, who respects her space. Suddenly, she's the one reaching out, touching his arm, inching closer. Why? Because his restraint communicates power. And power is the ultimate aphrodisiac. This is the paradox most men never grasp. Weak men push, strong men pause. Weak men fear rejection. Strong men expect boundaries and respect them. And when you become the man who respects her boundaries, you become the man she can't control. And that's the man she craves. Let me say it again so you never forget. Women don't sleep with the man who overwhelms them. They sleep with the man they can't shake, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't beg, because he has options. He has presence. He has frame. So let's step back and look at the full picture. You now know the 4 hidden laws: emotional safety, consistency, composure, and boundaries. But what does that really mean? It means this. If you embody these 4 drivers, women will choose you instinctively. You won't need tricks. You won't need games. You won't need to prove anything. You'll simply live in a way that activates her deepest instincts, the ones even she doesn't fully understand. Because here's the raw truth. Most men fail these tests. They may look the part, talk the part, even act confident. But when the storm hits, they collapse. When she sets boundaries, they panic. When life tests them, they lash out. And when things go wrong, they betray the very foundation they claimed to build on. So when a woman finds a man who holds all 4 traits, she doesn't hesitate. She locks in. She follows. She submits, not because he asked her to, but because she feels safest in his presence. Her body aligns. Her mind relaxes. Her desire ignites. And this is where the game flips. You stop chasing women. Women chase you. But don't mistake this for manipulation. This isn't about pretending. This isn't about strategy. It's about becoming. You don't fake emotional safety. You live it. You don't perform consistency. You embody it. You don't memorize calmness. You train it. And you don't pretend to respect boundaries. You honor them like law, because the man who does all that becomes rare. And in a world starving for strength wrapped in restraint, you become unforgettable. Let's talk consequences. When you master these 4 drivers, you won't just attract women, you'll filter them. The wrong ones will disqualify themselves. The right ones will reveal themselves. You won't need to ask for intimacy. It will be offered freely. You won't need to convince. Your presence will be proof. But here's the harsh flip side. If you ignore these laws, you will keep losing. Losing her interest, losing her trust, losing her respect. And when respect is gone, attraction dies quietly and forever. She won't tell you why. She won't explain it. She'll just say, "I don't know. The spark is gone." But the truth? The spark didn't die. It was extinguished by your inconsistency, your lack of composure, your neediness, or your disrespect of her limits. Women aren't cruel. They're wired for survival. And these 4 tests are how her subconscious protects her from weak men. Because if you fail them now, how will you lead her in crisis? How will you protect her when she's pregnant, vulnerable, or broken? This is what it's really about. Not seduction, but leadership. And real leadership starts with restraint. Let me give you one more example. A man dates a woman who sets a boundary. "I'm not ready to be physical." He smiles, nods, and doesn't bring it up again. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't pull away. He stays present, grounded, connected. And 2 weeks later, she initiates. Why? Because his respect built trust. His patience ignited desire. And she realized, this man doesn't need me, which means I can finally choose him freely. That's liberation. That's why she gave herself to him. You don't need to push. You don't need to beg. You need to become the man who doesn't collapse when she says no. Because the moment she feels you don't need it is the moment she starts wanting it. This is the new paradigm. Not dominance, not manipulation, but embodied power. Power that needs nothing but attracts everything. And when you live that way, you stop wondering if women like you. You stop asking why they ghosted you. You stop obsessing over what to say, how to act, when to call, because your energy speaks for you. Your presence becomes the game. And that's when you realize, women don't sleep with the man who excites them the most. They sleep with the man who feels like peace in the middle of war. The man who feels like gravity, not flash, not chaos, not hunger, but weight, stability, presence. That's you, if you live the code. And when you live the code, the world starts to change around you. You walk into rooms differently. You speak less, but your words land with more weight. You don't chase approval because you know your worth isn't negotiable. You don't perform for validation. You radiate it. Women feel it instantly. They lean in without knowing why. Because you're not pulling them. You're not pushing. You're simply holding your ground. Firm, steady, unshakable. That's what her instincts are drawn to. Not perfection, not performance, but presence. And this is where most men never arrive. They get stuck in the cycle, chasing, pleasing, performing. Getting a little attention, a few moments of connection, only to lose it all when the illusion breaks. Because they never built a foundation. They tried to win her heart with tactics. But her biology doesn't respond to tactics. It responds to truth. The truth of your frame, the truth of your consistency, the truth of your emotional power, the truth of your self-respect. That's the blueprint. It's not about being the richest. It's not about being the best looking. And it's certainly not about being the nicest. It's about becoming the man who embodies something she can surrender to. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. And earning it doesn't come from noise. It comes from silence, from control, from restraint, from being so deeply rooted in your own purpose that nothing she does can pull you off your path. And when she feels that, when she realizes you will not break, will not beg, will not bend your standards for her approval, that's when her body opens, her mind submits, her desire takes over. Because now she knows, you're not like the rest. You're not a placeholder. You're not an option. You're not chasing her because you lack options. You're choosing her because she fits your life, not because you need her to complete it. This is the key distinction. Weak men chase women hoping to feel whole. Strong men build a life that's already whole and invite women into it. That's why women chase strong men. because they don't need her to survive. And that freedom, that lack of neediness, is magnetic. You become the rare man she doesn't have to carry, doesn't have to fix, doesn't have to explain herself to. You become the man who listens without judging, who speaks without lying, who leads without fear. And in today's world, that man is priceless. But don't mistake this for arrogance. You're not better than her. You're simply clear. You know who you are. You know what you offer. And you refuse to compromise your values just to be liked. That kind of clarity sets you apart. Because let's be honest, most men have no mission. They live to impress women, to gain approval, to avoid rejection. But when you stop making her your goal and make purpose your priority, everything changes. She becomes the complement, not the core, the addition, not the obsession. And she feels it. Women are drawn to men who are going somewhere, who don't pause their lives for validation, who don't trade their power for temporary affection. That's why the mission matters more than the woman. Because ironically, when your mission is bigger than her, she wants to be a part of it. She wants to follow. She wants to contribute. Because your life has gravity, and her nature is to orbit around that. You don't have to demand it. You don't have to force it. You simply live in alignment. And alignment is louder than any pickup line you'll ever learn. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Some men will hear this and feel discouraged. You're telling me I have to be perfect? No, you don't need to be perfect. You need to be principled. You will stumble. You will fall. But what makes you powerful is not flawlessness. It's your recovery, your ability to admit when you're wrong, to course correct, to stay consistent even when tested. That's what builds trust. That's what builds desire. Because a woman doesn't need a superhero. She needs a man who makes her feel safe in his presence, stable in his words, calm in his storms, and respected in her limits. You give her those things, and you'll unlock levels of intimacy, loyalty, and connection most men will never taste. And that's not manipulation. That's mastery. That's what happens when you stop reacting and start leading. So let's review. What actually drives women to sleep with men? It's not looks, although attraction helps. It's not money, though success speaks. And it's not love, though love may grow. It's the 4 hidden laws. Emotional safety, the consistency of action, composure under pressure, respect for her boundaries. If you fail even one, you risk rejection, withdrawal, or a relationship without passion. But if you master all 4, you'll stop playing the boys' game and start living like a man. And once you reach that level, you'll never ask again, why did she leave? Or why doesn't she desire me? Because you'll already know the answer. She didn't feel safe. She didn't feel you could hold her emotionally. She didn't trust your words. She didn't believe in your strength. But now you know the truth. You know the test, and you know what must be done. So what happens next? That's your decision. You can go back to chasing approval, playing games, pretending to be something you're not. Or you can step into who you were meant to become. A man with standards. A man with presence. A man who leads without needing to dominate. A man who listens without losing himself. A man who earns a woman's submission not by force, but by simply being the one man she can't ignore. That man doesn't just attract women. He inspires them. He awakens something ancient, something primal, something sacred. And once she feels it, she'll never see you the same way again. You've heard the myths. You've been told the lies. Now you hold the truth. And the truth is this: a woman doesn't give her body to the man who says the right things. She gives it to the man whose presence says everything. Live like him, and you'll never chase again.